What's up? Welcome to Tim Kulig Free Music Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Kulig, and today we have Tom Seymour. Imagine that.
Hey, it's me, Tom Seymour from VHS Massacre. Yeah. How's it going, Tim Kulig?
It's going, dude. Let's see. Updates this last week. Holy crap, dude. I totally got, like, on the bandwagon of making more horror tunes. Heretic, a 24 or 25 song album, is on the horizon. Very excited about that. Very excited. In fact, I even sent you a couple teasers this morning. There's some extra
there's
stuff.
More.
Yeah. It's on Discord. So very excited. Very excited to see what happens with those.
Yeah, I got a sampling of about a little over 20, I think. Maybe 21 tunes, something like that. Some really good stuff in there. A nice mix of like atmospheric and just horror. You got a few tracks that are just sort of all surrounding. I call it like a noise wall, but it's night. It's very consistent. So if you need that music that sort of horrific all surrounding music, there's some cool tracks in there, and then there's some nice high energy ones and stuff like that too. It's a nice mix.
Yeah, I did some rhythmic stuff with even piano, like the tail end, because I realized like none of the tracks had any like creepy piano going on. So I'm like, I need to filter a couple of those in there too, you know?
Yep. Yeah, it's good stuff, man. So yeah, if you get that, or when that's published, that's going to put you up to how many tracks?
The thinking right now, I think, is 820, 821, something like that. So well on my way to like the mid 800s, which means there's hope before the end of the year to break that 1,000, you know?
Yeah.
Again, I've come to this weird realization that the more I emphasize hitting that mark, the less chance I'm going to have doing it, because I'm so focused on the number. I'm not letting the creativity come naturally, and you really can't force it. I mean, the last 4 or 6 weeks is a perfect example. I had a bunch of ideation, but like not even close to things that were finished, and I needed to like literally put things down for like 10 days and then come back to it and do a bunch of exports. And I was like, okay, I'll go for like a 2-hour walk and just listen to these things, and then use the app on my iPhone, the voice record app, and just like non-filtered, nothing. Okay, what does this need? What doesn't it need? What does it already have? What doesn't it have? And just boom, 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 boom. Just have those two next to each other, a Google Drive and that, and just literally just go song for song and just walk through nature and do it. Like, it's the best way to like edit for me in music.
Yeah, it's the same thing with video editing. You definitely get burnt out. I imagine it's very similar to music recording. Well, actually, when I did my albums back in the day, it's obsessive. You'd work on stuff like through the night, you know?
Yeah.
So you'd work on it for like 8 hours, and then like you're just so sick of it, you know? And then put it down for a couple weeks.
It sounds counterintuitive, right? Like,
yeah,
you're grooving on this thing, and by the time you're done with it, you're like, I don't want to hear that right now. Like, I heard these tracks so many times, I don't even want to like listen to them. And now I go back to listen to stuff I did in 2021, 2022. Literally, I think I told you this the other day. It's like a rediscovery. I'm like, oh shit, I forgot I did that. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So our documentary Video Dreams is in the film festival circuit. So I just want to hit on a few things real quick.
Yeah, sure.
So I believe we have about 12 official selections.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, can I share this?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the exciting things that happened was this film festival, Sci-Fi Horror and Action Awards, put up their nominations. And if we look under documentary, we're here.
Nice.
You know, VHS Massacre.
What's Dust
Video
Collector?
Dreams, a VHS Massacre story. What's that?
What's Dust Collector?
I don't know.
What's that category?
Dust Collector. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's like just a blank template area, I guess.
Seriously.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Let's see. So, yeah, I think we have 6 awards so far, which is pretty cool. And so there's a number of film festivals that we're sort of in competition. There's this one in Rome called Indie Cinema. Very exciting news. I don't want to officially announce it yet, but for those in the United Kingdom, there's going to be a big UK premiere, and I'll announce that as soon as I can. It should be screening in July. I believe it's in Essex. So big announcement of like where and what that is. But Tim, I was telling Tim about it. It's very exciting stuff.
Yeah.
So I think things are happening with the Video Dreams. And I was talking to someone the other day. I was like, yeah, we're competing in 81 film festivals. And they're like, God damn. I'm like, yeah, well, now's the time, you know?
Well, the thing, too, is, it spawns and stems from our new approach to the distribution, right? Which is, listen, to get the most eyes and ears on an independent film these days, we could go rent one theater in some location and hope we get 20, 30 people in the seats for the weekend that we rent the place for a couple grand, or run the festival circuit and for a similar cost, literally get it in front of thousands and thousands and thousands of people, potentially,
Yep. And I should talk about, let me share this again. Let me share this real quick. Where is it? Dashboard. Okay. I think this is okay. I think this is okay to share. I don't think there's any vital information here.
No.
But what I wanted to show is this tab at the top, marketing service, promote work. So I looked into this a while ago, and there's a few different things you can do to promote your work. So this is if you have a finished film, you're on Film Freeway, and you think you want to plan to enter multiple film festivals. Well, I was showing this to Tim. I said, hey, look, I threw $20 to be in this featured projects window, which here's a sample of it. It's like if you run a film festival, you pop up sort of down here,
right.
And Tim looked at it and you were like, what is ooh, the email blast. That's where it's at down here. So one thing is, if you're a gold member, I forget how much, it's maybe like $12 a month or something like that.
Yeah.
If you're like us, you're planning to enter a lot of festivals, I'd say 20 plus. Being a gold member, you pay that subscription fee. You get you're going to save $20 or $30 on each festival. We've probably saved $500-$600 just on being a gold member. But then we signed up for this thing, email marketing, $250 if you're not a gold member, $125 if it's a gold member. Tim and I split it, $62 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
What that does is it sends an email out to 14,000 film festivals, which is slightly disturbing that there's that many, actually. But but we got back 20 full festival waivers. So free, meaning they got the email and they said, I want to see this. Here's a free waiver to enter our festival. I think we took about 17 or 18 of those opportunities.
Yeah, because some of the festivals weren't, they didn't resonate with us, or the doc didn't seem like it fit.
It seemed it seemed like a mismatch. Yeah, but so I think we probably, some of those are like $60, $70 festivals where the fee was waived.
Yeah.
So we're hundreds of dollars ahead in that. So that's sort of a new discovery that Tim and I made. It's really something to consider. It is money, but like Tim was saying, if you really think about it, with luck, we could use VHS Massacre 2 as an example. We essentially played in 30 cities, give or take. And then we hit streaming. And that was for Trauma. So love Trauma, and that's great. But this time around, it's for us. So we're going to see what happens with that. We had some luck doing that with American Expendables. But it was more like 15 cities and 8 awards or something like that.
And we didn't hit it as hard as we're hitting Video Dreams.
No. No, I think we entered maybe 30.
Yeah. We had a good festival run. We had a good percentage, a good overall acceptance rate with that.
Yeah.
And right now it's astronomical, but over time there's going to be that average is going to kick in, and it'll drive that number down. But still, a 50% acceptance rate at the end of the day, at the end of a run,
is that for American Expendables. Yeah.
Well, one out of 2 accepted it. That's not nothing, man. You know, that they have to see it. They have to see the trailer or screen part of the movie and make a determination and officially select it. So that means somebody really wants to give it a second look. And that's an awesome feeling to have. So even if you get accepted into a festival and you don't win, the simple fact that somebody gives your film a second look that's a huge win. To me, it's a win. It's a, we want to see this. We want to see this, and we want other people to see it too.
Yeah, it could even be a handful of judges see it. But who are those judges? Maybe they're fellow filmmakers. Maybe they're people in the industry. You know, it all has an effect. I've been to festivals that were a packed house. You know, like 100, 200 people. But I've also been to ones, we talk about this all the time, like 15, 20 people.
Uh-huh.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You know, that's great.
Yeah, those festivals are people that want to be there. They literally are there to support independent film.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been an adventure so far. We're excited. So as things happen, we'll definitely keep everyone apprised.
Yeah. Yeah. And as the summer goes on, we're going to get into the fall festival season, which tends to ramp up a bit, right? Because a lot of people, third and fourth quarter, people are trying to get into festivals that qualify them for Oscars, that kind of thing. So some of the bigger festivals start really ramping up. Big festivals are throughout the whole year, but I feel like there's a wave that happens as the year.
I think it's a few different things. One is a lot of the deadline cutoffs are like late summer, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
What's that, August, September? Especially with what we're doing, because it's all the horror festivals, right? So they're gearing up for the horror season. So some of those festivals like to even be wrapped up in like July, because they want to map everything out and, you know, have it perfect for Halloween. The other thing too, which is a very interesting concept for anyone who's interested in entering film festivals, this concept of an Academy Award qualifying film festival is a fun concept. It's a very long shot, but how fun is that? You know, you enter a festival where a majority of the winners go on to be Academy Award nominees, you know?
Right.
So it's a cool thing. And I think a badge of honor in its own right. You know, some people even brag about that. Like, official selection of the Academy Award qualifying blank film festival.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, because you're right there, right?
Yeah.
You're literally right there. You know, the Academy won't even look at you unless you qualify in one of those events.
You either are doing it through the corporate studio system, in which a lot of money is being paid for campaigns, to running advertising campaigns to possibly get influence there. Plus, the studio system owns the Academy Awards, and it's made up. It's like the judging base is 5,000 people. Those 5,000 people are just industry people. Some high-powered actors, you know, and so on. But it's essentially the studio system voting on its own work. So for you to come from the outside, you've really got to come through. Either you have a very powerful agent and manager, and you're already in that ecosystem, or one of the only ways is through these Academy Award qualifying film festivals. Right. And even that is quite the feat. If you can get into one of those without a massive agent or management or knowing someone.
Right. And literally, like, to trigger that, to be able to get into the Academy Awards and then being sought and up for an award, like, that's huge. Like, whatever you did has got to be groundbreaking at that point. Like, you're not in the system, so it's like the first Pixar movie or something, right? Like, not granted, there was money behind that. I don't want to. That's a weird example, but I'm sure there was some. You know, I don't know. I can't speak to this. I'm just talking out my butt, but you know.
Like, legitimate, like, low budget or no budget Academy Award qualifying? Very good question.
Yeah.
Because even, like, Tarantino with Pulp Fiction was a Miramax. That was a...
Right.
Miramax was... They used to call it a mini-major. Nonsense. It was a major studio. So that wasn't independent, you know? So a lot of these, like, films, wonderful films, but somehow labeled independent, were so far from it. But I think that's mostly what you hear about, you know?
Yeah, it's. I mean, dude, we talk about that with Bottle Rocket. You know, like, that was considered a Sundance winner and like an independent film. But, like, first of all, the budget was like $4 or $5 million.
Sony Pictures immediately disqualifies it as an independent film.
Right. Yeah. A lower Hollywood budget, maybe when it was made, $4 or $5 million is not nothing.
Those were they used to just call those studio films. It just, they kind of put that. There was some swagger to independent filmmaking back in the day. But so film festival circuit is fascinating, and so we got that going on with Video Dreams, and then American Expendables is out on Blu-ray and all this stuff, and for the most part that went really well, far better than I thought it would. And then that's about it. We have a secret sneaky project that we're gonna do a shoot on in July, and that should wrap up that project, and then we're hoping to sort of hand it off, and that will be that.
Yeah, then we're going to be riding the wave of the Video Dreams festival run, which will bleed into next year. But this is our big ideation time now. Now that that's doing, and like it's marinating through. I'm using that word a lot lately. I don't know why.
Marinating.
Yeah, like I'm doing that with my tunes. Like I've got 25 horror tunes, and I've got like a semi-finished, and almost completely mastered version of all that stuff, and I'm like, they gotta sit and marinate over the weekend and make sure that I'm fine with it, and then I listen to it.
It's a good word.
Yeah, it's like things have to sit. They have to kind of you have to ruminate them around a little bit, not too much, because then you're like start second guessing yourself. You're like, did I make that cut video wise or movie wise? Like, oh my god,
that stuff's maddening. Like one little thing. Like there's stuff in Video Dreams now where I'm like, I could fix that. But it's almost like this odd principle in my head now saying, don't fix it. Because truth is, it's undetectable.
Mm-hmm.
And you fix that, you're definitely going to find something else to obsess over. You'll just find a whole different. But this is not, that's not to say, this has been worked on for a year and a half.
Right.
This is not something put together sloppily. So it's
I say great art, or just art in general, it's never finished. You just put it down and never pick it up again. Like that's just like, and I have to do that with tunes. At some point I have to be like, this is as far as I want to take it. It's probably about 85-90%. I could be a perfectionist and tweak and turn and everything and sit on it for a year and a half, but that's not how I'm going to produce the volume that I want to produce.
And we know people like that, and they don't produce a body of work. And I don't mean to judge that too harshly, except for me, I see it as wasted potential.
Yeah. Because that changed, Tom. That extra 10%, the vast majority of the viewing audience or the listening audience, undetectable. They're not gonna notice that change. If I was competing against Sting or Beyonce or Taylor Swift, I would need that level. But a lot of my stuff is utility, and nobody's gonna hear that. It's gonna be buried in the mix. It's gonna be under narrative. It's gonna be any number of things, right?
Yeah,
Foley's gonna cross fade with it and stuff, and like, dude, no.
And if they really have a problem with it, they won't use that part.
For sure. It's the weirdest thing, because like you could get lost in the weeds, and just spite yourself the whole time, and you like, again, it's that whole principle of who's the better artist, the one that fires out 1,000 pieces of work, or the one that focuses on 2 or 3 and they're masterpieces. Well, I would argue the former. Because you're going to produce a hell of a lot more ideas and probably nail it, 20% of the time. And you have 200 pieces that are sparkling and shiny, whereas this other person spent all that same amount of time and they only have...
It's interesting. I mean, I suppose there are people out there who've worked for decades and do the same thing and don't improve significantly. That's probably more rare than anything else, So it's an interesting time, I think for both of us. But I mean, we talk about AI a lot, and we definitely see it coming, and I've used it in very mild ways. But I do think, we talk about building our brands, and I do think the next couple of years it's really important to define yourself to be something that people seek out specifically as a personality, or the same way McLeod's music has such a distinct personality. People are like, I want McLeod music, It's like wanting to eat at McDonald's or something.
Yeah. Well, it's that
no
playfulness.
offense, Kevin. You're not McDonald's. You're at least Outback Steakhouse.
Yeah. And if it's the McDonald's brand, you're Chipotle. Okay. Like let's
right.
Far healthier. No, but I get what you're saying. There's, the seeking of that there's very playful pieces that lend themselves well to online content. And, I have to not only I want to revisit that this year in the third and fourth quarter, because my short form comedy and my comedy playfulness stuff, like those are like Mousy McMouskowitz. That one still has a lot of stuff going on in social media. In fact, on Pixabay, it's the most downloaded track I have on that platform. It's something ridiculous, like 50,000 times or something. I don't know. Like,
yeah, that's great.
Like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't know that. Yeah, your tunes play like millions of times a month. Across the internet.
Yeah,
that's only happened in the past 3 years, 2-3 years.
Yeah. So that's kind of neat. It's kind of neat to see like it pop up in a content creator's channel that has hundreds of thousands of views on each on a piece that has my piece in it, and I'm like, well, if people listen to this whole thing or watch this whole thing, they've heard my song. So there you go. Like this one channel and one video, I've been heard that many times. So you just multiply that by 10, because law of averages would be like, yeah, that's a reasonable estimate, And there you go. And that's just on YouTube. So that doesn't count where people are using it on social media and other places. And forget the movies and everything else. Our movies, it's all in there. It's in the stuff that I've contributed to, other Indiegogos and stuff that have my tunes in it. So
yeah, I mean, really, it's like, we used your stuff on New York City for years. I mean, that's like a couple million views right there. I mean, just on Podbean, it was close to 1 million views, So yeah, it's interesting the way the internet works,
It's crazy. It's crazy. Still, and okay, another pet peeve and something that Tom can completely relate to. Hopefully it's not bleeding through the mic, but I've had people working on landscaping outside my window for 5 freaking days. I'm trying to record some new content in addition to this stuff, and it's driving me freaking batty. I'm like, dude, really? Of all things, like in all hours of the day, like it's insane.
Yeah.
All I hear is a leaf blower outside. It's like, wee. And I'm like, great, thanks.
Wow, yeah. I'm in New York, so if I open the window, I'll hear
everything.
Someone screaming, cars honking, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's definitely interesting, the concept of building out the brand and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be really important, Tom. I think that's going to differentiate channels and creators that phone it in and just let AI do 80-90% of the work, or the ones that are like, hey, I want to build audience and build community. Like, that's the key. Audience and community and back and forth. Now, the counter argument could be, okay, there's these agents coming that are going to be able to, these AI agents that can simulate people and interactions and go out and do the research and multiply time. And I think those have their place and they have their value, but I don't know that we're going to reject true human interaction. I think that's a huge leap.
I think when I watch a YouTube video, this has happened more in the past 6 months. I'll watch a YouTube video on like something like a new car coming out, something. I'll watch it. I'll be like 20 seconds into it. I'm like, this is AI. Like the voice is AI, but not only that, some of the car images are like, this is not even a real car, It's
right.
Like, and I feel fooled. And so I don't think that sensation will go away. I do think AI will get good enough to fool us, but the internet's pretty good at, very hard to outsmart the internet, meaning people on the internet. And I think it will be detectable for a while.
Yeah.
And I could see it spreading, a YouTube channel gets really popular. Someone's like, this is bullshit, right? It's AI, Like, oh, okay, So people don't like being fooled, man. They really don't.
No, that feeling of being bamboozled and basically caught with your pants down it's at some basal, like, reptilian level, like, it's humiliating, Yeah. And nobody wants to go to that place. So
yeah.
As long as it's like you said, as long as it's detectable, I think it's going to be a problem. And even when it's not detectable, I think there's always going to be an element to it that's discernible. I think our sensitivities are going to grow with this technology to the point that, is it going to be completely undetectable? Well, maybe to people that are naive to it, that don't understand the industry, Because, I mean, you see that on social media now. People are commenting on these videos, and, like, you're literally like, you do realize this isn't real, right? Like,
Yeah,
like, you know.
that's on TikTok a lot.
Yeah.
I like TikTok, but yeah, they will deliberately run, it'll be like a real anchor host, two anchors, news anchors, and it'll be AI like redoing their mouths and their voices, and it'll cut to B-roll, and the story is not true at all.
Right.
They've even done stuff like with war, or alien invasion stuff, and it's presented as factual. And so it's like, okay, yeah, it's a bit obvious now, but it doesn't mean next year it won't be, and that's a little scary.
What bothers me is it bothers me on the same level, and this is going to seem weird, but it bothers me on the same level that historical fiction bothers me. Like, they're in the same category in the same book for me. And I'll explain myself. Historical fiction is like, you go back and it's like some alternate history of Hitler, or some alternate history of, Helen Keller, or some alternate history of, I don't know, Genghis Khan, right?
Yep.
He was a nice guy, blah, blah. He didn't hurt anybody, or just like some weird aspect of their life that didn't really exist.
Yeah.
But to me, it's incredibly confusing because, 100 years from now, if certain records are lost, then what is the real history,
Yeah, you know what's like that? You know the movie Amadeus?
Mm-hmm.
It's Amadeus and then the other guy who plays the villain, another very accomplished composer. I forget his name. It pits them as rivals, and it pits them that he poisoned Amadeus, and total horseshit.
Yeah, yeah.
Someone wrote a play hundreds of years ago, a popular play, a fun historical fiction play, and then people watch Amadeus thinking that it's based in some kind of truth, and it's like total bullshit.
Right.
It's fun. It's a beautiful movie, but none of it's true.
Right. But if there's no disclosure and you're not aware of that, you're going to start talking like you understand history from this movie, and it's like, dude, you're a moron. That's historical fiction. What are you talking about?
Yeah. They made it up. Yeah. Who's the villain?
Was it like Bach or something? I think he was his contemporary.
Salieri.
Oh.
Antonio Salieri. Pitted him as like much less talented and insanely jealous.
Yeah.
And poisoned him.
That's insane.
Yeah. None of it's true.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to happen more and more. I mean, like, the ones that irritate me too are the channels that show up on like Facebook feeds or Instagram where, some ship's rolling up on a sperm whale and pulling all these barnacles off of them, and it's like the ore is going through the sperm whale's body, and like it's just a crappily done AI image. But here's the thing. Those channels get a shit ton of freaking followers and comments and engagement. Yeah. And it's like, well, that's what they're doing. They don't care if it's negative, positive, or whatever. They're monetizing that channel based on the fact that people are just fascinated, even if it's like train wreck fascinated. That's what it is. That's what it is. Like, it's the reason that reality TV has survived 30 years. It's train wrecks. It's constant train wrecks, and people just love that shit. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't really know what to do with that. I mean, the only thing we can do is just try to grow our social media presence, and it's always a little tougher for us because we have a product. I would argue yours is the most desirable product because you're offering royalty-free music, and people really need that, That's not to say that, the films aren't, like, really interesting and all that stuff. And they are free. I mean, most of them you can see them on Tubi for free.
Right.
But I think there is less of you than there are of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is a good place to be,
I knew the road and the journey and the likelihood of being successful with that was very slim, right? Like, ultimately what's going to happen there is, a fraction of 1% are the ones that are going to be the ones that you hear on the radio or are touring around the country in big venues like Lollapalooza or something. And me, that didn't resonate with me because I didn't want to invest all that time and energy into moving around place to place to place doing a live performance. I'm like, why don't I do something that maximizes the reach of my creative potential and I can actually do the things that I want to do? I don't have to play covers. I don't have to play mainstream music. I can do music that I want to create and build my own tribe, build my own following from a studio in my own house. And that's kind of how this thing was born,
Yeah, I think I had something similar where doing some of the narrative films were really exhausting, and like Exorcism of Fleet Marriage that we did together, that one was ultimately, I think that director's cut, I think is really very proud of it. But if you think about how much effort that was, I couldn't do that exactly, but I could do what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I could do a couple interviews now and then, build a documentary-based thing over a number of, year and a half, 2 years. So like,
right.
So it's all about trying to adjust. If you really have that creative fire and you need to work and you need to do this stuff, then like you figure out a way. And so I think I'm pretty happy with what we're doing and everything. I think
me too.
I think it'll be great. I was thinking of dipping my toe back into narrative. Actually, one idea I was talking with Steph about was to pick back up this concept of, I did a Trauma original series called Monster Kill. And some months ago, I was playing around with the idea of taking all the episodes and kind of creating a feature-length movie called Late Night with Luann as kind of like a special. Hey, here's this marathon special. And I was like, I was like talking to Steph. It's like, yeah, that's a good idea. Like, I don't know if anyone's interested in this. And she's like, how old did it? When, is there an occasion? I was like, oh, yeah, it's going to be 10 years old in 2026.
Right.
She's like, you could do like a 10th year anniversary late night with Luann and try to build that hour-long thing and just put it out. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Is it like a Tubi thing or is it like a YouTube? Just put it on YouTube. And she's like, Tubi would take, like, that's fine for Tubi,
Yeah.
Like, so it may be something I play with. It's kind of a back channel way to put another narrative feature out,
Yeah.
So,
And it's going to be different to see those compiled together as like a collective and, an all one shot as opposed to individual episodes like they were released 10 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know what it'll be. I'm going to give it a try, and if I put it together and it's just this Frankenstein unwatchable thing, I probably won't do it, but it was something that, I thought, this might be worth trying to give a go,
Well, that's an interesting, talking about that, like going down a rabbit hole and seeing if something works. I'll do that with tracks, and there's tracks that that have been on my hard drive since inception, like since I made a determination that I'm going to go on this journey for 2,000 plus tunes, right? Literally, I've gone back and listened to a couple of these ideations. They may disappear forever at some point because I just haven't been able to find a path for some of these ideas. And they may not be anything other than, hey, that triggered me to find a different patch and make something interesting. And that's the only work that ever did, right? Same thing goes with going down the rabbit hole of a script idea. You and I have talked about a couple of narrative things over the years. In fact, the last 5 years while we were doing all these documentaries, where you kind of got a couple ideas. We talked back and forth about them for a few months. And then at some point you hit a wall and we're like, I don't know how I'd even make this. And the more I think about it, the more high the budget is. And then I'd have to do like an Indiegogo. It'd have to be something significant. Do I even have time to shoot this? So you start, and not to say that it's a great idea to shoot ourselves down and make excuses not to do something, but there's also realistic, that being realistic.
Well, there's there are two wolves in you. No, but the excitement has got to overwhelm the practicality, the nuts and bolts of it and the obligation. And there are multiple times where I'd start something and the interest is, it's a fire you're trying to start and it goes up to a certain level. And then the amount of effort, the scale just doesn't balance. And you're like, yeah, it doesn't feel right. And I think that's the feeling when it feels like work. That's a problem. It's got to feel like it's got to be artistically inspiring.
It's got to be play on some level. Even if it's hard, it's got to be play. Yeah. Absolutely. And not every day feels like play. Some days it's a grind, man. It's a grind. I promised myself I would create some ideas on Mondays and Fridays. And some day I'm lucky to get 1, maybe 2 out some Mondays and some Fridays. Other times I get 7 or 8. And I'm like, I have other stuff to do. I could do more, but I have to get to these I have other life obligations, or I could be here till midnight, you know? And it's like, ooh, that was a good day. I got a lot of cool stuff out of me, you know? But it's true. It's true. Like, ultimately you have to make space. You have to make as much space as possible to create. And if you're lucky, that creative process will deliver some form of art fits into the narrative of your life. And if it's difficult, if it requires a little bit of stretching of a rubber band, it's not so much that it's going to disrupt everything. You know, you don't have to quit your job to finish this thing. Like that's insanity. That's just not an option. Not at 50 years old. You know.
Yeah.
That's another thing too. The reality, like, you take a lot of bigger chances when you're like 22 than when you're 50. You know?
I think, like, for me, you always hear different people saying different things. Like, Joe Rogan, his thing for a while was, like, don't have a backup plan. Just don't do that and just go in head first. And I think that's kind of true of what I was trying to do. I mean, you need to be able to eat. So, I mean, there were times where it was, like, always making independent films, whether my job was, like, working at a Wendy's or a bookstore, whether it was at CBS. Like, I had to have a roof over my head.
Right.
I wasn't going to perpetually live at my parents' house till I was 40. So in feature filmmaking, it's such a different beast than anything else that, like, you know, the backup plan for me, it was like, and then I started to get, like, into my fees. So for me, it was just like, I felt like I tried every concoction.
Right.
You know, and so here I am now, you know. But I imagine for some people, the sort of don't have a backup plan probably worked, but maybe it was just a slightly different like area they were trying to break into.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, it depends on what that definition is too. Like, what do you mean by backup plan? Do you mean, like, you know, go back to corporate America, like in my case, and, you know, that kind of thing? Like, I don't want to do that. So my persona and who I am screams, this is going to work. I'm going to find a path for all of this to work. Yeah. And if a combination of consulting and making my own stuff and creating content that adds value to creators in both the, you know, social media and movie and TV space, you know, all that stuff combined, like, see the forest for the trees. And literally all I have in front of me is time. It's time to get to the thing that I want to get to. And the question is, how fast do I want to do it? And what limiting beliefs do I have keep me from getting there faster, and then redefining those over and over and over again, so that it gets me where I want to be, and it gets me where that all those revenue streams come in, and it allows me to be as creative as I want to be, and everything's taken care of. That's really ultimately the goal. And, you know, whether I become $100 million person or, you know, 100,000, I don't care. Like, the point is that value is coming first. And I think that's where the magic is. When you focus on the value first, then those other things fall into place, because you're acting on your excitement, you're acting on your passion. And that is the key. That's the key to growth. That's the key to being successful. I think people forget that. They get so tied up with, like, oh, I want to be just like that. Stop the sentence you just said, because you're not that person. You're not Mr. Beast. You know, you're not Joe Rogan. Be you. Be the best you can possibly be. Your people will come. The tribe will come. They'll find you.
It may take decades.
Yeah, it could take time. It could, like, dude, I'm absolutely. But I'm willing to put the work in. You know, I think I have some value to add when it comes to music. I think I have value to add when it comes to movies. I think I have value to add when it comes to navigating the social media, you know, area, when it comes to adding music to your stuff and navigating all the licensure with that. I want to be an advocate for content creators in that space, in that regards, because it's frustrating to me having this thing that I'm like, please take it. And then platforms going like, you can't do that. And I'm like, no. I gave them permission. You need to give me a way to ensure that they can have that permission, and you don't create these stopgaps, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's the whole thing, the music industry is interesting. I was hearing about, you know, Oliver Anthony, the country singer. He's the red bearded guy.
Yeah.
So he had this, one of his big songs, Richmond, North of Richmond.
Yeah, the big one that came out during COVID, right?
Yeah. He blew up in enormous way. And Joe Rogan was talking about his situation, and he said he was offered all this money, all these things. And so he asked Joe Rogan, like, dude, they want to give me $7 million. They want to. And Joe Rogan's like, you already blew up. You're already famous. You will already make money. You could book whatever venue you want. Mm-hmm. He's like, the $7 million is so they can rob you for the next 20 years. He goes, do not take the deal, you know?
Right.
And, so anyway, he's putting out a new song. I guess he just got divorced. I don't know. It sounds like he's had a rough go, man.
Yeah. Well, that's one of those growing pains, dude. When people get successful or they get to another level, people want to keep you in a box, right? And I don't mean that in the sense of people want to hold you down necessarily, but you spend enough time on this planet and being a human being, you have these definitions for everything around you. And when somebody changes drastically, even for the better for themselves, a lot of people become uncomfortable with that because now they lack definition for this person, and it creates this strange weirdness. So people want like, get back in your lane, get back where I'm comfortable, I understand who you are. Because you're becoming something I don't know who you are anymore. And
yeah,
that alienates people, right?
It does alienate people, and I think in some ways it could potentially be rightly so. But for the person that is moving up or growing, that's all bad. It's all bad, you know. So it is complicated, but it's not good if your friends don't want to see you move higher up.
Right.
Your friend should want to, you know, have you hit the sky. And
if they don't and you're moving forward, they're not going to be around for much longer. That's just the natural course of life. Like, and it's listen, they're probably great people and you're great people, but you're divergent in the sense of who you both are and what you're willing to do. There's some people that hit their 30s and they're fine with who they are for the rest of their lives. I'll be the person that's like 90, still trying to learn something new. Like, that's always been in my DNA. I always want to learn new things. I may not be great at them, but I feel like even this AI stuff, like, I'm tentative about the music aspect of AI. I don't want that to cheapen anything that I do or anything in our industry. So I've got like a existential crisis when it comes to that stuff. It'll eventually probably be in some capacity in the toolbox, but not the main factor in any of the creativity, because I want that all to come through here, and boom. You know, when I hear a patch and I let that flow through me and I create this like sonic narrative, like, I want that to be me, man. You know, or at least me as the channel to whatever freaking universal energy comes through me. I'm trying not to get all floaty here, but you know.
Yeah. No, I get it. You want it to be authentically you, and so. But in some of the docs I've used stills that were AI generated, just a handful, not many. But the truth is, like, that if it wasn't AI stills, it would have been AI stock images,
right? Because you would have probably gone to Pixabay or Pexels or something like that.
Yeah,
and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of creators, I'm sure, generating the best image they possibly can or the best mini clips, and uploading those for people to use. And
so the truth is, I used Adobe stock, and with a lot of people shot beautiful 4K video of different like television switcher equipment and stuff like that, sort of television camera, stuff like that. It was worth doing the subscription and all that stuff to Adobe stock. And then, but it's just some stuff, like I said, like a handful of stuff that I could not find in the way I needed it. And so, morally, I'm fine with that. I don't think there's an issue with that. So
yeah, I mean, there's, what is it? Logic Pro has, a quote unquote session drummer, piano, and bassist, right? So it's basically, it can tailor a line, a MIDI line for and like a drum track. Like drums, I've just relegated myself to the fact that when I use drums, it's oftentimes some software instrument or it's something like that. It's something that comes out of Logic. I don't have time to step at it, all that stuff. I need something to help me. And then what I'll do is I'll tailor it to have it match one of the lead instruments. So I'm like, yeah, follow the guitar or follow the piano. I want those two things to be syncopated. And then I can adjust it so that it's unique to my song and unique to me. So in essence, if you really want to get down to brass tacks, that's probably some level of AI, because it is tying into the notes and it is trying to understand it and tie out things, and it does little fills and everything else. The interesting thing is that, drum beats and stuff like that, with the exception of like samples, drum beats, like they're not something you can go out and copyright. You need a full song for that. So that's why that's like back in the 80s and 90s, a lot of, rap band, they had the same backbeat going the whole time. Like, well, you stole that. Well, dude, you can't. No, that's not part of.
Yeah. They find like a rock song where there's like a 20-second introduction, and they'd loop it.
Yeah.
And they're like, you can't. It's just fucking drums. You can't sue me.
Yeah, it's different when there's a lick though. If there's a lick on top of it, that's where you run into problems. What was it?
Yeah.
There was some artist that had to pay Sting. It was something ridiculous.
Dire Straits, yeah. It was the Money for Nothing.
That was one. Sting had one too with I don't think it was 50 Cent, but it was somebody else. Damn, I just saw this on social media like a week ago too. It was like $5,000 a day because he never got the license.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking. Yeah, it was a hip hop song with Every Breath You Take or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
$5,000 a day.
Then there's the
5 or 10. It was something astronomical.
5 or 10. I think using the word brilliant with Vanilla Ice seems wrong. But like, so he ripped that something very similar to, I think, David Bowie, the Queen, Under Pressure, right?
Yeah.
He took some of that. It was like one note different, whatever. But it
was an edit. It wasn't like
it was an edit. They nailed him on it. And he fucking buys the song. He buys the original song. I'm like, oh my God, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So now he gets revenue from both of them.
Oh my God.
But he could only do that with the revenue that he generated.
Yeah.
I can't believe he got away with that.
So I didn't realize that was the epilogue, that he actually went back and he's like, all right, if you're going to sue me over this, I'll just buy your song.
Yeah. And I think the like lone surviving author was like, yeah, all right. Because it was a good deal. Like he threw like $20 million at him or something.
That's crazy.
And he was like, okay,
And meanwhile, he's flipping houses in Florida, isn't he?
Yeah.
Vanilla
like
Ice. He's got a construction company or something. Look at that, like thumbs up. Hey.
He's got, his car collection is insane.
Yeah. We had that reality show for a while about that too. He's like, I'm done.
It's funny, that guy, he must be very smart.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. Yeah, music industry, man. Pretty wild stuff.
Yeah, it's nuts. I just like to be in this space, which is like Tribe comes to you, loves the stuff that you're doing, loves the fact that you write in like every genre under the sun, and just roll with it. I mean, what's next is literally like pan drum music that's very meditative, meditation music again. I think I'm going to do like a trifecta. It's going to be pan drum, meditation, and probably some frequency-based like binaural stuff that I'm going to do as well, because there seems to be an uptick in a desire for that. And some of the social media content I've been, consuming over the last 6 months to a year has talked about, resonating tones, frequencies, how we exist. We're basically, various vibrations and everything. And I'm like, dude, that might be fun to do. Like, let's dive into that. Even if it was 8 songs a piece, well, I'm now at like close to 850 doing those 3 things with just 8 tracks. And I'm like, yeah, I'll probably have more than 8 ideas in each one of those spaces. That's going to put me well into 800s. And, maybe they won't get fully released, but they'll be published by the end of June, early to mid-July. So it'd be a really good jump on the 3rd quarter. And then there's a good chance I'm going to hit that 1,000 this year. And even if I don't, it's going to be damn close, dude.
If you hit 1,000 this year,
yeah,
it would be crazy.
It's close to 300 tunes, because I started the year at 727. Like,
whoa.
I don't know if it's possible. I'm sure it's possible. Like, if I just lived and breathed that from like today till the end of the year, no problem. But I have other shit I have to do.
What are you gonna do for yourself when you hit 1,000? I sent something on Discord. I don't know if you saw that.
You did, and I actually had ChatGPT look up 5 distributors and pressers for vinyl. So I've considered that. I've really considered doing a vinyl pressing, maybe 10 to 15 tracks, double-sided, very unique, kind of a collector's like limited run, like maybe 250. I don't even know where I'd put them. I don't have any. I don't need room in here.
Be great, man. You'll sell some, but then you'll have some, and you can
sign them,
give them out, sign them, give them out, stuff.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah,
beautiful piece of art.
Be a cool promo. You could do that as like a promo thing on any of the social media sites and even like Patreon. For a big push for Patreons, like
bring them to the podcast events.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be pretty dope. Finding one that'll press that many and not price them out of a range where people will actually buy them looks like it's going to be a challenge. Making them like 25, $30 a piece for cost is like, ugh,
I suppose you could do just do print on demand and buy like 10 for yourself.
Yeah, could do it like that. Could do like that because I'm sure those exist. They'll be a higher price point, but
yeah.
Again, if I'm running a promo or it's like a, big push for Patreons this month, a random person that joins this month on a pay scale of this or more has an opportunity to get a signed copy of my 1,000, plus tune vinyl, like the best of the first 1,000 kind of thing.
Yeah. That's exciting.
That'll be a hard thing to come up with. Oh my God, what's the best tracks in the first 1,000?
What's the cap on it? What's the minute, what is it, an hour of music? I don't know how. On
an LP?
Yeah.
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
Let's see.
33 inch, it's 12-inch vinyl, right? But it's a 33.
Yeah, 33, 22 minutes per side, 44 minutes. Okay.
All right. I got a lot of tracks that fall into like the 3 to 4 minute period. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like you were saying, maybe 15 or something? I think that works, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that should do the trick. I mean, I can't put Bugbears on there. That's 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
That's a long one. Even though it is popular, the D&D campaigns use it a lot. It doesn't evolve very much. No. Well, that's helpful.
Do a part 1 and part 2, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It could.
Why not?
It could. But then that's going to be interesting. Like the epilogue of that is, well, now we're working on the next 1,000. And how long is that going to take? And I don't know.
I do think, 1,000 tunes puts you in an incredibly elite space. Kevin MacLeod, I think, is the king of that. What is it? 2,200?
It's like 2,500 plus.
2,500 songs.
There's some early stuff that he de-emphasizes because obviously, a lot of your early work is you getting your groove on, and trying to figure things out. It's probably simpler. It's less articulate, less thought out. But again, it comes back to the argument about the volume, Tom. The more you do, the better you get just inherently by doing. And then eventually you realize like, no, that's adolescent sounding. But there's places where that works, right?
Well, absolutely.
Kids tunes, comedy,
When you were starting in on this, what was the other biggest personality? It was Music L-Files or something like that?
Yeah. He was up on that now defunct channel, and also Alex Nakarada. His stuff is great. He was very inspiring. He still to this day is very inspiring.
What does he have, about 800 or something?
Alex has, I want to say, like maybe 500.
Okay,
something
good.
like that. Because I updated him recently on the number. I was like, I'm about to break 800. He's like, dude, you're out of your mind. Like, I don't even know.
Well, 500 is incredible.
Yeah.
500 is absolutely incredible. But I guess I was just thinking, like, the 1,000, I don't think there's many... I can't think of many royalty-free artist, prominent ones above 1,000. I can't think of many.
Yeah. And Music L-Files, a lot of his were like intros and corporate stuff. And like corporate beds and everything. Not to say that those don't have utility. They do. In fact, gonna come back to that soon.
I would do it
because got inspired. You inspired me with a name for an album.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Which I don't want to mention. I don't want anybody to take it.
Yeah.
But it is gonna be so formulaic, and it's gonna sound so. You're gonna feel like you're in a gray-walled like box, and in fact, some of the stuff might get dark. My freaking horror bleeds into everything. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Yeah, but no, it's like 1K is like a serious thing, man. It's really cool. I do think it puts you in we always talk about this, like performance, in anyone's catalog. You probably know the stat better than me, right? It's something like 10% accounts for half of the listenership or something like that.
Oh, it's probably even less,
Or are you cutting out a little bit?
Oh, am I? Did I get too far away? Oh, it's probably it's not for real. It's your end of the stream, which this is going to change. My HOA is actually upgrading to FiOS, I think, Frontier, and we're going to have like half a gig of upstream, which is awesome, which I think that's been a factor with some of my pixelization and everything too. We'll see. Always trying to improve, Tom. Always.
Yeah.
Always improving.
So what do we do? Do we wrap it up?
Yeah. I think we hit on the points that we need to hit on today. Some shows are longer than others, and but this was like a update. I mean, ultimately, when this album of mine drops this week, which it will, it's literally in like the final stages this weekend. I just have to do a final mastering pass on all the tracks and add maybe a couple more piano tracks to the mix. And right now it puts me at 820. So anything above that is just going to be that, 1 or 2 or 5 more marks on the march. And yeah, I've literally breached the 800 mark as of next week. So I'm very excited about that, and significantly, so that when I jump into the meditation stuff, I'm going to be pretty much with the hope of halfway to 9, which at that point, there's going to be this inherent urgency that's like, all right, dude, you hit 900, like, let's freaking go. Look, even the internet, even the AI is throwing thumbs up behind me. Look at that. It's like, you hit 900, dude, I got to hit you twice with that thumbs up. Woohoo! But seriously, like, I don't know. I don't
nothing.
Like, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't get it.
That's okay.
It's the craziest.
Okay, man. Well, dude, this has been fun, and congrats on crossing the 800 threshold. Can't wait for that horror double album. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. We'll keep you all posted.
Cool.
Well, I'll catch you next time, guys.
See you, everyone.
See ya.
All right, bye.